Now for our next tool, we're going to show you the elbow and how to properly use it. First of all, the focal point on the elbow is about the size of a quarter. So it's just the tip of the elbow. So if you can see the physics behind this, from the legs to the hips to the body to the shoulder, everything is put in to that little tiny point that's chiseled out about as hard as a piece of wood, and that's all going to be grazing down the face. The angles of the elbow can come vertical. I always like you to hit your own hand for training. Horizontal and diagonal. Those are basic angles you can come. So when you train by yourself in the mirror, I want you to do this. Just hit your own hand with your elbows over and over, the 3 different angles. And as you get to do this, now we can start playing. We can go eye jab, we can go elbow, elbow, we can go headbutt, we can go knee. But look at these tools. We're jabbing an eye, we're elbowing a face, we're slamming the top of our head into the opponent's face, we're driving our knees into his groin. The reason we can do these very lethal tools is because we're in this very lethal range. And that's what makes us different from other martial artists. This is why we can make fighters in a week. All right, Rich, come on in. Now again, when we train the elbow, I want you to picture this. What's going on is the elbow is not trying to hit solid, but it is raking across the face. It's just grazing across the face at different angles. You say, well, why not punch? A punch in this range compared to an elbow would be like if you had a gun and instead of boom, shooting him, you're hitting him on the head with it. That's just how much more lethal this elbow is, especially when you start putting it in combination. That's when it starts to get nice. So, in a nutshell, what we're telling you is to graze across the face with the elbows when it is appropriate.
Hey, Jimbo here with another tip for you. This has to do with understanding just how far you will go to protect yourself and your loved ones. Many guys overestimate their willingness to fight back. The reality is usually much different. For example, I worked with one Special Forces soldier, a guy who saw a lot of action and endured years of bloody combat. What he said to me was this, quote, "Many men cannot fathom the idea that somebody actually wants to kill them. They just can't get their head around it. So when confronted by a real killer, a truly evil person willing and able to kill without hesitation, when that horrible reality sinks in, they often just freeze up and then die." Point is, there's a certain warrior's mindset that you must tap into when facing down a potentially deadly threat. It means you are willing to either escape and fight another day or step up and fight with deadly force, with deadly intentions, if there's no other choice. As my street fighting friend Paul Vunex once said to me, quote, "You've got to demonstrate a complete disregard for your opponent's well-being." So here's what I did. I got a few U.S. Special Forces soldiers to show you how to tap into this warrior's mindset along with some lethal hand-to-hand fight moves. Deadly moves that kill in an instant if you're ever confronted by a deadly threat. But here's the thing. These moves are very ugly and very brutal moves, so much so that I am not allowed to show them to you here on this platform. If I did, they would shut down my channel for sure. However, if you think you can take it, I am now willing to show them to you for free. Just get to the link in the description. This is pretty gory stuff, but when your life is on the line, you'll be damn glad you learned these simple moves. Like I said, you can see them for free through the link in the description. Okay, let's move on to your next tip.
One of the things that I would like to take time to discuss with you is some of the wisdom about what it takes to be a winner or successful in a fight. Things that can actually enhance your ability to get in a fight and, as I say, fight without fear. You know, because honestly, you're going to have a little bit of fear or concern, but you have to have a lot of confidence to outweigh that fear so that you can wade through it. And there are ways to get to that. One of them is through constant training, you know, just punching bags, rolling around with your buddies, kind of making it fun, but giving yourself a lot to draw from. Defense against this punch, defense about that one, this choke, fingers to the eyes, some weapon selections, improvise things like ashtrays, beer bottles, stuff like that that you can find in a bar. My personal experience tell me that when I'm under fire, in a street fight or in a ring or anywhere else, if I have a lot on my mind to draw from, you know, a lot of choices, defensive choices and tactics, right? If I have a lot of choices and tactics, guys, that helps me out quite a bit. It gives me a lot to draw from and a lot to think about. and it actually keeps me from getting all nervous under fire. In fact, if I survive the first punch, my mind's already starting to reach out and select choices. And what we call that is, you know, we try to apply some principles, and they have to be added into your tactical selection. Principles about fighting, there's probably a good solid 24, but some just, you know, for the purpose of street fighting, really stand out to me. The first one I want to talk to you about real quick, and I'm going to bring Roger in over here, is positioning. The principles of positioning is you have to have a good position in relationship to what your opponent, assailant, your attacker is going to bring at you. You know, whether he's punching, kicking, moving, rushing, you know, you have to have a point of reference. And that starts with a good body position. Now, I can grapple very well, but the last thing on this planet that Jim West really wants to do is be in a bar room, a mall with a lot of people around, or to be outside on concrete or asphalt and having somebody drag my ass or drag my own butt through the concrete and asphalt where I'm skinning myself up, ripping my skin off, you know, or having in a crowded place other people who were initially not even involved in the fight, you know, coming up and kicking me in the head and the legs and the sides. I don't like that. I don't want to put myself in that position, so I try to follow some principles about how not to get there. Whether I'm pushing off, sprawling, throwing somebody down, bullfighting with them, whatever you want to call it. And position will help you to get there. It'll also help you to knock a guy out if that's what you need to do, and I'll explain that. If Roger is attacking me, if Roger's going to be attacking me, he's got his hands up. Right now, I'm standing directly in front of Roger, and I don't really know if that's where I want to be. If his hands are up, I'm not totally uncomfortable with that. If he looks like he knows what he's doing, but I may be off a little bit, I don't want to be standing here where Roger can reach out and hit me without moving his feet. Guys, that is a tragedy. I can sit here, take anybody in the room, anybody on the planet, and I can hit you 100 out of 100 times if I don't have to move my feet or any other body part but to reach out and touch you. And remember, when you're going for eyes and stuff, it may just be a setup. I may just be wanting to get him back on his heels. If I do that, he leans back, then I can move on him, right? So part of your positioning is you have to have a sense, and this is very important I explain this because most people feel comfortable. Have you ever hit a bag? You line up on the bag, and you line up right where you can hit it. You know what happens? This is just another sidebar with that. When you start moving in, it shortens your punches. They're no longer effective. They're just big, hard pushes. You want to get out here on the end. So when you're training, you want to get just outside of your fingers tip reach where you can't reach your target. And guess what? He can't reach me either. In order to reach me, what's he got to do? Roger or whoever, they're going to have to step to reach me. That allows me an ability to, one, kind of control the distance. In this case, I just step back one step. And we're still in the same position, all right? Yeah, he may come forward and I may decide to step over here and work an angle. I personally like angles, and I'll tell you why. If this back against the wall theory is something that you're concerned about, and I step with him straight line, and all of a sudden I'm kind of pinned up against the wall, and I'm not very happy because, you know, he could be kneeing, elbowing, punching, you know, and I'm just trying to survive here, and it may not work to my advantage. However, if the same scenario, I know there's something. This is part of that awareness, guys. You go in, you don't let people behind you, you don't stand around with your back up against the wall. You know, you hear that all the time. I want my back against the wall, I don't trust people. Always leave enough room to get an out. So if he decides to bull me and walk me into a wall, I'm stepping over here to the side. This is actually part of that bump and grind stuff. If I move, just angle myself a little bit and say Roger steps in punching, I can come downstairs, I can come across just by moving. I'm kind of a physical guy. I like the heavy hands, the heavy punches. In fact, when I'm on the bag, I actually take my gloves off and I practice a couple rounds a day just hitting as hard as I can hit in combinations, because a lot of times that's where it's going to boil down to in a street fight. bang, 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 just quick and hard as I can. And not many people are going to take 3, 4, 5 punches in a row if you hit hard and you're on target. And I have to tell you something, like Roger here, he's got a big, thick neck for his size, and if he pulls his chin down and I catch him right in the face, he can probably take that. And I would encourage Roger or anyone else not to turn my head to take it, because you get, Roger, let me have you stand over here. I'm right hand, I love to punch people with a straight right hand, a left elbow, a left hook. And I'll help you with that in a second. If I can sidestep one of these punches and get myself at this angle, this is part of the positioning drill. You know, I'm still going to be blocking or whatever I have to do, but if I can catch Roger on the jaw and cause his head to snap, and then it'll snap back when the punch comes down, right? So it's just going to go, I want you to just bang and snap it back. When you hit a guy like that and his head turns really fast, it's like a coup counter coup, right? That means his head's turning faster than his brain. Typically, if you can catch them at an angle like that, they're going to stumble, fall, maybe even knock them out. That's the best way to knock them out, is to catch them at the angle. You hear these guys, oh my God, his neck is so thick, I hit him in the face and it didn't hurt him. Well, you probably hurt him, you just didn't knock him out, because he's got that thick head, thick neck. And it's hard to get a guy straight on the chin. I know you hear about it, and it is, you got to catch them with their mouth open, not prepared. But even when they're prepared, slide back this way. If I can step over here when he steps forward, here, off to the side, and come over his shoulder and make that head spin like this, bang, that's going to increase the possibility of me knocking him unconscious. And if I can step over here and catch him with one punch, and then he starts to swing in my direction, and catch him with another couple of punches, and keep working these little half-moon angles around his body, it works out really well for me. You can chop him down at the legs if you need to. What you don't want to do is stand close enough for him to reach and touch me, make him move to touch me, and you don't want to walk a straight line backwards when they're coming at you, unless you're going to set him up. It's part of the positioning drill, but you got to know what you're doing, right? Or you want to sidestep, bang. And you should sidestep as often, just to get out of the way. You can also just pass it off and keep tracking.
Hey, don't forget about those deadly hand-to-hand moves. This training is yours for free from the link in the description. I honestly don't know how long I'll be allowed to give this stuff away here, as it's pretty over-the-top stuff. So get to the description right away.
Positioning is vital to your survival, trust me. The second principle I want to talk about is economy of motion. You have to spend time on positioning. Economy of motion and conservation of energy are kind of go hand in hand. Excuse me. It's actually 2 and 3. It's economy of motion, conservation of energy. Roger, come step back over. With Roger here, he say maybe grab me. I can grab his arm and start wrestling. Am I being smart? He pushes me, I push back. You know, are we being smart? Probably not. I mean, he grabs and pulls me, I push him, pull him, you know. Guys, that's a sporting event maybe, but in a street fight, you're not going to be around very long. Even in a ring, you're not, if you don't know how to stall or save your energy. So you have to know how to just throw a real quick punch, a quick slap with your hand open. If my fist is balled up and I'm throwing a pile of punches, I'm going to get tired faster than if I just slap like that. You have to think about your self-defense selections and what you're up against. If he grabs me, and I grab him, and do you know how often that happens? Crazy. It happens all the time, right? When you say, Roger? Yeah. I mean, when people grab me, or you grab them back. It's human instinct. If he pushes me, they try to grab. People do what they do instinctively. That's why the need for training. So when he grabs me, if I just relax, look where his hands are. Bang, I can box his ears, thumbs in his eyes, grab his head, kick to the groin. You know, I can pull out one of these spikes and go to work. I can chop his elbows down by going inside here. Bang, elbow across. This is what I mean by conservation of energy, economy of motion, conservation of energy, is don't waste yourself. So if you think about that, he grabs me or punches, he's grabbed me, my positioning is not good. I can work a little angle and a little braking technique, and this is really going to start feeling good. Okay? The next thing I want to talk about is a critical distance line. When you go on the offense, guys, we have an imaginary line, that critical distance line, and it goes hand in hand with the rest of us in positioning. So if you take the critical distance line, you write it down. What is it? For me, I don't want, you hear, I need my space, don't get in my space. For me, my space is if I can reach over here and touch you, and you just shouldn't be there, right? So if I look around, I don't know him, and I'm not sure what he's doing. He's just standing close to me for some reason. I'm probably going to introduce myself, make sure, hey, he's okay, so we're not getting into anything, or I may just step away a little bit. Remember the entrapment footwork. I don't want this guy to be able to strike me. If it's a possibility, it's a threat. I mean, evaluate your whole scenario. I'm in a parking lot, I'm an ATM machine. I mean, when I go to the ATM machine, if I have to get out of my car, the next guy stands 15 feet away. If a guy's up on my butt, that ain't working. First of all, I'm not going to put my card in there. I'm going to pull out a knife, or I'm going to walk away and say, why don't you go first? Just common sense, right? Just common sense. So your critical distance line, you got to figure out what it is. And for me, for me personally, it's on the end of my fingertips. I don't want people in my space, and that is my space. It's like a 10-foot square. And when they get in there, that's when your awareness level has to go up. You've got to heighten your awareness anytime somebody else can just reach over and touch you. Because if he can, really technically he can own you. He can take your money, he can take your life. And you got to be aware of that stuff. Likewise, if you're with a friend or a party or at a bar somewhere and somebody that you don't know walks up to your buddy, he's talking to a girl that he doesn't know. That could be, for example, it could be a previous relationship going on. You better keep an eye on that situation, get your buddy's back. You may have to sucker punch him or something. And I have to tell you, there's one punch, it's called a gaucho. Basically, some guys, they like to get right in here, and they just bring this punch up from right here, just right under your chin. If they're a little closer, then they'll bring the forearm and just hit you with it. So, it doesn't always have to be an armed assailant, right? It doesn't have to have a knife. Guys can sit here and just pop right to your chin. Guys, will it knock you out? I don't know if it will or won't. If a guy practices, a really big guy, boom, he might be able to put a little body motion into it. If it's a forearm, it's going to do some damage. If it's an elbow, it's going to do some damage. So a guy can stand here with his hands right by his side and get there. And, what I want you to do is understand that happens. So with all that said and done, then we have our lines of attack, which kind of go with the position, which you talked about. He's either going to come at me in a straight line, which he's just going to come straight at me, in which case I typically want to work a different angle or entrap. Normally, my first choice, when somebody comes to a straight line with me, my defensive choices are to move to the side. It's going to strengthen my position, weaken his position. All right? If he starts coming at me and zigzagging and working angles, I'm probably want to walk straight in. One of the rules I do with line of attack is like, if you want to throw a strong right hand and he's off of my lead shoulder, he's right over here. If I have to reach across my body to hit him, I'm not going to have a very successful right hand. So I don't even throw it. If we're standing like this, stand a little bit right here, so kind of right there. If we're standing here where see where my right shoulder is? And I have to reach across myself to hit him, then that's weakening and shortening my punch. Plus, it's exposing my back for people to work around me. If I'm doing all this leaning and he wants to pass me and go behind me, it's pretty easy to do. All he has to do is just push my elbow or slap my arm out of the way, unlike what we're trying to teach you earlier. Right back. Remember, he's off my lead shoulder, my right shoulder's exposed to midair, and I do this. All he's got to do is just pass, and he's got me. He's on my back. And if his head's up there, I can't even hit him, So someone think what I do is I don't even throw this right hand. If he's starting to say he moves that way, and then he moves this way, and then he moves that way, and I'm like, what I do? As soon as he steps this way, bang, I just drop the right hand. Because all your power drives right off your back leg through your shoulder, just straight off. So I don't reach across your body. Some people may tell you that lie. Don't do it. You want to punch straight off your shoulder. It's going to give you more power, or palm heel, whatever your strike is. Same with the elbows. Straight off your shoulder, straight through the opponent. Don't work these crossing techniques. All right, that's just going to get you in trouble. You know, if for example, if I'm off at an angle and he reaches with his right to hit me, see he's reaching, he's leaning. If I take that little side step and I choose to close in on him here, this is easy to do. I can take him down pretty easy from that position, or reach between his legs, bite him in the back. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do. All right. So we talked about positioning, economy of motion, conservation of energy. We talked about our critical distance, which is very, very important, and then our lines of attack. You know, counter straight lines with angular motion. Counter angular motion with straight lines. It typically works very well.
Thanks for watching our video lessons here at TRS Direct. Hit the like button down below and consider subscribing to our channel here on YouTube. Hit the bell icon and we'll send you a notification when there's a new lesson available. Thanks again for watching.